I made a brood witch.
Hey! Free sandwich!
Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. This handsome devil is turning 50 this year, and Hasbro's celebrating with a whole series of Marvel Legends 2-packs. Today we're taking a look at Logan transforming into a brood, and a long-awaited Empress Lilandra. Starting off with the packaging, and not only is this a window box, it's their special 50 Years of Wolverine box. This includes slash marks on the corner that actually wrap around. This box, of course, is focusing on Wolverine's brood form. One thing that's a nice effect is that the graphic is glossy, whereas the box is a matte finish. The names are on the top, letting us know that this is Wolverine and Lilandra Neramani. We also get a fancy 50 Years of Wolverine logo. I like how Wolverine's shadow is the hole in the zero. And then flipping around back, we get some pretty interesting artwork. Cleverly, this is listed as Marvel Legends 2024 number 50, and the artwork features Wolverine's transformation, as previously seen on Uncanny X-Men 234. I love that they're showing the classic artwork, and I really love that they're giving credit to the original creators. That's something I've repeatedly said I'd like to see DC Multiverse do. One nice feature is when you open that box, the backer card actually has panels from that Wolverine Brood comic. Otherwise, we also get a nice little bio. Wolverine deserves celebrating, and this box does a great job of it. So for packaging, I'm giving Wolverine and Lilandra 5 points. Moving on to presentation, Wolverine is 5.5 inches, whereas Lilandra to the top of her helmet comes to 6.5. I can't speak for you, but for me, Lilandra is the star of this set. That being the case, I'm going to start with Wolverine to kind of get him out of the way. In general, this is just the brown costume Wolverine we've seen a few different times before, but there are a couple of small upgrades. On the original, that dark brown runs a bit narrower than the ab crunch, so it kind of stands out, whereas the new one made it parallel with the ab crunch, so that way it blends in and hides a lot better. Additionally, the claws on the original were just kind of shoved in there and are prone to being either bent or misaligned, whereas this one uses the new hand style we saw in X-Men 97, which hold their shape much better. Otherwise, the only new pieces are the head and arms. The head does a good job of capturing that transformation from the comic. I really appreciate all the lines and wrinkles around the eyes, and while the teeth and gums and jaw have been nicely sculpted and painted, they did choose to make it hinged, which kind of gives them a bit of a jowly look. And I can't speak for you, but mine keeps falling off. In general, I wish that they just would have given him two separate open mouth and closed mouth heads. And then moving down to the brood arms, I'm a bit conflicted. These sections have been nicely sculpted and have a lot more paint detail than usual, which is definitely appreciated, but because they only did the arms themselves and not the shoulders, it looks a bit incomplete. Almost like he's wearing some brood sleeves over his arms. A clever customizer could probably go in and add some lines to make it blend together. Still, it would have been nice if Hasbro could have made these pieces new also. Even so, I don't want to complain too much because this is a version of Wolverine that we've never seen in action figure form and probably never will again. And if we're being really honest, it's not even the main reason any of us bought this set to begin with. This is. And boy, howdy is she worth the wait. The closest we've ever gotten to a Lilandra figure is this extra head that came with the Walgreens Mystique. A lot of collectors have used this as a basis for customs. Flipping it around, we can immediately see that these helmets are different, but I do think that the head underneath might be the same. Not exactly, because there is some stamping that's different, but you've got to admit that these profiles are very similar. If so, the paint job is far and away superior and one of the best painted Hasbro heads I've ever seen. Just look at how lifelike the eyes are. I can't place it, but there's somebody that she really reminds me of. I'm thinking either an actress or a model from the late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know, it's gonna bug me. She has been cast in a marbleized plastic, but you will appreciate all the sculpted line work. Not only is it sculpted, but there's also a bit of painted shadow to bring those details out. Moving down, there's also a bit of black leather texture to create contrast with the armor. One thing I can predict some collectors not liking, however, is the cape. For the record, it's very nicely sculpted. I particularly like this swoosh here, but I can see some people being annoyed at how it blocks her left arm, and just how wide and space hogging it is. Did somebody say space hog? Any criticisms I have are minor though, because this Lilandra is out of this world. For presentation, I'm giving Lilandra 5 points, and Wolverine gets 4 points. Moving on to posability, and of course we've seen this body a few times before, but Lilandra is all new. Wolverine's head is on a ball joint and a disc swivel. Lilandra is on a dumbbell joint. They can look up this far with that disc swivel really giving Wolverine the edge. Same thing with looking down. Of course, Lilandra having a dumbbell joint means that she actually gets a nice bit of tilt. Wolverine not so much, but both can look all the way around. Also recall from the previous category that Wolverine has a hinged jaw. Moving down, they both have swivel hinge and shoulders, but Lilandra can raise her arm much higher. But unlike Lilandra, Wolverine benefits from forward and back motion thanks to this butterfly joint. Both figures have bicep swivel and pinless double jointed elbows. Lilandra has a pretty deep bend, Wolverine less so because of the bulk of his arms. At the ends of those arms, and both figures have wrists that can swivel and hinge. Moving to the middle, and Lilandra has a diaphragm joint, whereas Wolverine has an ab crunch and a waist swivel. She can arch back a bit, but the cape does hinder that, and she can hunch forward this far, as well as tilt and twist. Wolverine, by contrast, can arch back a bit further, and has a perfect hunch forward. No tilt, of course, but he does have twist. Below the waist, and both figures have ball jointed hips. Lilandra can kick this high, and split this wide. Wolverine can kick this high, and split this wide. Moving down the leg, and both figures have thigh cut. I do think it would have been cool if this whole thing could have been a separate piece with the thigh cut hidden underneath. Otherwise, Lilandra has pinless double jointed knees, whereas Wolverine's are pinned. He does, however, have boot cut rotation, which Lilandra doesn't, but both figures have ankles that can hinge, and like Wolverine into a brood, pivot. For posability, I'm giving Brood Wolverine 5 points. Lilandra, however, being slightly hindered by the cape and diaphragm, gets 4 points. Moving on to playability, and in terms of accessories, the box is admittedly packed a little bit light. Wolverine comes preloaded with these open clawed hands, which admittedly is a change of pace. No doubt, so he can gesture tormentedly. He does, however, come with a pair of fists. Lilandra comes with her staff. It's been cast in this frosted translucent plastic that gives it a pretty cool effect. She can hold it in either one of her hands. That said, she does come with this alternate karate chop hand for when she needs to make her point very, very clear. And for when people don't get the point, she also has this fist. But playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. For the only Brood in my collection, and here we have the original Toy Biz version. As for the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, however, and here we have the old Toy Biz 5-inch War Star. The funny thing is that when this figure came out, I didn't even know who this character was. I just wanted him because he was metallic and my favorite color. Otherwise, here we have Purple Superman with a mohawk, also known as Gladiator, and the Chad Wave Fang. Fang is a wonderful segue to other brown and orange versions of Wolverine, including the original, the retro card, which while not perfect is a much closer match to the new Brood one, and lastly the 5-pack version. If however you prefer your Wolverine of the Tiger Stripe variety, here we have X-Men 97, but for someone very important to both these people, and here we have Professor Xavier. I've taken the regular version and put him in an era-appropriate analog wheelchair. And since my introduction to Lilandra came with the Phoenix Saga, here we have the Hellfire Club Guard. Next up is Sebastian Shaw, the Black King of the Hellfire Club, Emma Frost, the White Queen, and Jean Grey, the Black Queen, towering over Empress Lilandra. Otherwise, here's Jean as the Dark Phoenix, and in her Marvel Girl costume from the House of X-Wave. Rounding out the team is the Dark Phoenix 2-pack version of Cyclops, the Thunderbird 2-pack version of Storm, Nightcrawler, Dazzler, one of my favorites, Beast, another one of my favorites, Kitty Pryde, also known as Shadowcat, and the 80 Years Colossus, who I have a feeling won't be giving this Wolverine the Fastball Special. And then for another cosmic connection to the Phoenix Saga and fellow Blue Cape enthusiast, we have Uatu the Watcher. For a world-to-scale comparison, here's Logan and Lilandra with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. Lilandra's a character we have been sorely needing for a very long time, and while I don't know if anyone was begging for a Brood Wolverine, it's still a pretty fun addition. Some more alternate parts would have been nice, but for playability, I'm still giving this set 5 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. The Wolverine and Lilandra 2-pack retails for $49.99, which admittedly does feel a bit high when one considers how little the pack comes with. On the other hand, Lilandra's an all-new sculpt, has a wonderful paint job, and was probably never going to be released single-carded anyway. Leastways, not unless she was in a Build-A-Figure wave or something like that. Even so, for most of us, Wolverine was the real price we had to pay to get the figure we really wanted. Breaking down to $25 a figure, and for price, I'm giving Wolverine and Lilandra 4 points, averaging to a grand total of 4.6 out of 5. Does Lilandra remind you of anybody also, and if so, who? Sound off in the comments, and while you're down there, let me know which Wolverine set you're the most excited for. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.